Okay, hey guys, Siri here. I noticed a request for a Dotabuff analysis in on the Dota 2, Learn Dota 2 subreddit, and I've done a few of these in the past. I don't think you can get too much out of a Dotabuff, but let's see what we can get out of it. I've got Dotabuff Plus right now, I think, so I've got some features here you probably won't see on your Dotabuff. I don't use it all that much though. Anyway, let's just get started. The first thing I want to see is his current win rate. We see his overall win rate up here. It's just below, or is it 50.5%, so slightly positive, which is good. He's not on the downward slope. He hasn't got super many games, so you have to take into account how many games he's played when you look at the overall win rate. And at this point, it looks like he's at the MMI he should be. He's pretty much going steady, improving slightly. So let's take a look at his matches, and we want to see let's just see this patch. This patch we see very few games. Let's see this month. How much has he played this month? Alright, so 2 pages of games. How many games is that? 72 matches this month. So that's pretty good. Yeah. Overall, a 52.78 win rate. So he's definitely improving a little bit at the moment. We see fewer kills than deaths. This might result from him playing a lot of support. He's playing a lot of Shadow Shaman. He's also got a lot of assists, but you tend to get that overall. It's very hard to tell what kind of MMR he's at this point, since all of his games are in normal skill. I don't actually know if Dotabuff goes lower than normal. I don't think it does, but I think the divide is at about 3200 MMR, right around where I am. So if you are at about 3200, it goes to high skill matchmaking. So if it says high skill here, it's probably higher than 3200, and then the next divider is at 3800, and then it becomes very high skill, and that's just the top of it. So if you're 7k MMR, you're in very high skill. If you're 4k MMR, you're in very high skill. That's because a very small percentage of players are actually at 4k or above of the overall. Like the vast majority are 3k or below. Like I think the 50% mark is at 2.5k. So right away, that's the basics we can tell in just a minute or so looking at his Dotabuff. That's not something he can use to very much. Like that doesn't tell him super much. What we can, however, see is take a look at how he plays, and we see that he plays very few heroes regularly. He's got 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8 heroes he's got more than 10 games with, and it's a very, very sharp curve you see here. So he's playing vast majority of the games. Well, not vast majority of his games, but he's played about a fourth of his games on Shadow Shaman. That's a bit unusual. I guess for someone who's kind of just starting out, it's pretty usual. I played a lot of Jakiro when I was just starting out. Jakiro and Lestrak for some reason. Lestrak's not a good hero to start up with though. That stun is so hard to hit. In any way, that doesn't really help him. Like we can probably surmise that he doesn't have the best knowledge of heroes other than perhaps his top 5 here, since you really do, or maybe at least his top, like these 8 heroes, because you really need to have a few games with heroes before you start to get some idea of what they can do. Like before you get the a really good idea of what they can do. So if we look at the heroes he's never played, and we see a very large amount of them. So this also adds up to this picture that he's very focused on a few heroes that he likes. Mainly he really likes Shadow Shaman because he's playing him a lot. He's got a slightly positive win rate with him. He's got a very impressive win rate on Ember Spirit and on Visage. These two he's got, or Visage, he's got a really good win rate on. And then we have Jakiro actually with a low win rate. This is surprising to me. My Jakiro win rate is about 60, I think, or 57 or something like that. And low on Faceless Void, probably not. It's only 15 games. It could be a statistical anomaly, but he's probably not very comfortable with Chronos. Or maybe it's because he's a relatively squishy carry, really gets punished by a slow start. Sand King, horrendous win rate. Zeus, horrendous win rate. Doesn't look like, which is kind of surprising to me, since Zeus actually plays a little bit like a Shadow Shaman in the fact that he's not a very fast character. He's a very Very squishy character as well, but he's not a character. He's a squishy character that's played as core mainly, which might be the difference here. So the main takeaway here is just that he doesn't seem to have a very big hero pool. One of the things he could do is try to branch out a little bit. If he wants to better his knowledge, he should play a few more heroes a bit more regularly at least. When you're starting out, that's always a very good idea to get a bit more of an idea how different heroes play and different roles play. Like, it's easier to counter a mid player if you know what a mid player is worried about, how they think. Yeah, we see the same in his recent games. A lot of, you know, Shadow Shaman and Ember Spirit. Let's take a look at his items. Now we're getting, like, at this point I feel like I am actually sort of reaching here. Now I'm the first things I go through there, win rate and depth of the hero pool, are something that you can really actually say something about with some certainty. But here we're going to look at just item choices, which is you know, yeah, I don't actually, what I'm saying is I don't actually know how useful this is. Yeah, but let's see. He gets a lot of Aghanim Scepters. This probably stems from him playing a lot of Shadow Shaman. You know, that's a usual item on him. But one thing I'm not seeing is too many Blink Daggers. Only 31 Blink Daggers over 400 games. So for someone who plays so much Shadow Shaman, that's a very low pickup rate, I think. So it looks like he prefers to buff up his ultimate rather than have the Blink Dagger. If we assume he's at the not super high MMR, he's only got 400 games after all, you're probably not at super high MMR, then we can assume that it's because if you kind of try to initiate there, you don't really get a lot of follow-up a lot, and you can actually get punished for picking up something like a Blink. We see 4 staff as super low as well, only 9 games. Which is something like 4 staff and Blink Dagger is something I expect a support player to pick up a lot more. We see more mechanisms picked up than Blink Daggers and the 4 staffs, which is odd. Let's just check his hero pool again. Not seeing a whole lot like this Lich. Lich could carry a mech. I don't see anyone else I'd really want to be carrying the mech. Shadow Shaman is very mana intensive. I don't think he's a very good pick for it. So that's just, you know, a quick little stab in the dark. Let's take a look at some actual replays for this guy. And since he loves Shadow Shaman, let's just take a look at some Shadow Shaman games. We see a slightly negative KDA. This is perfectly acceptable for support. This looks like a pretty crushing victory. Our 47, actually this looks like, yeah, didn't even pressure the tier 2. So his net worth is doing fine. Yeah, he's very close to the top actually, so he's doing very good here. It's a very odd item build he's got here. Like Bloodstone, Arcane Boots. This is not something like, what is he even building here? 2 Void Stones. 2 Void Stones, what are you? There's something that uses... No, not 2 Void Stones, 2 Perseverance. What is it that uses 2 Perseverance now? Is it Refresher now? Yeah, it's Refresher. He's going for Refresher. Bloodstone into Refresher. That should almost definitely have been Aghanims into Refresher. But he might have been messing around this one game. Let's see this Lost match. Yeah, he's just... Here he's struggling to build his Aghanims. He's got a lot of deaths. Looks like they just got stomped. Probably just by the AA. And the troll, just the enemy team, just kind of roll over them. They're high net worth comparably, so they just got kind of smashed here. We can also take a look at his skill build. Ether Shock level 1. That is... I want to see if he does Ether Shock level 1 usually. Yes, he does. Yes, he does. Now, this might not be a support Shadow Shaman. I wonder where he landed. If it's a mid Shadow Shaman, this kind of makes sense. Because then you can use the Ether Shock to farm with, you get a bottle, and then you just kind of farm / push the wave with the Ether Shock. Old school build. It's a very good nuke, Ether Shock, but I don't think you should max it out first and as a support role. He kind of has to be supporting, doesn't he? I was really sure he was supporting with this guy, but he's going for this Ether Shock build every time. I think the Hex is okay, but the duration on the Shackles is really the shiner. If you see here, it's it's 2.75 plus it also does a little bit of damage. Or actually a decent amount of damage. Like it does, I think it'll do about 100. 100, yeah, something like 100 damage at level 1, which is not, you know, not something you can look over completely if it goes its whole duration, but a nearly 3 second stun at level 1 is devastating, and you should almost always get that if you can get some kind of follow-up reliably and not get knocked out. But the Ether Shock level 1, I think, is it's not something I would go for every game. Yeah, Ether Shock. Goes for Ether Shock every time. Maxes that out first. It might be like a Slasher's Way or some odd guide for it. He also likes Bloodstone a lot. The cooldown on these things is, I think, oh, they're not actually that big. Maybe it's better than I think, the cooldown, like the Bloodstone. But I would think almost every game, like the usual suspects for items would be Aghanim Scepter, Refresher, Blink Dagger, Force Staff, those kind of items. And he's really going for, at least his newer builds are going for something completely different. Yeah, Aghanims and Bloodstone. Really likes that Bloodstone. The Bloodstone is more of a snowballer item. Do we have it? Ether Shock again. Actually maxing out the stuns before he maxes out his Ether Shock. That's even stranger. Like I could understand it. Like I could understand his thought pattern if he's going to max out the Ether Shock just to get that sweet damage out, because it is a lot of damage. But then you want to max it out completely because you need the efficiency of it. But he's not really getting that. It's very strange. But perhaps he is playing it as a core. Perhaps he is playing it as a core. So if we click Shadow Shaman here, yeah, we get the general Shadow Shaman. Actually, let's just check this. You see, Bloodstone not even in his most used items, but Blink Dagger, Aghanim Scepter, Refresher is. Force Staff is, Yule's is actually. I wonder why Yule's is. I guess maybe it's just because he likes the mana regen and it lets you... What does it let you do? I guess you can just carefully place your wards underneath someone who's Yule and then just wait until they hit and then just shackle them. I guess that's the combo. But I don't think I would go for this. I think you should be able to hit your combo regardless. Like you can hit your combo regardless, and it's more important just get the mobility item and land your disable if you're looking to gank someone, get someone to gank with you. I think that would be more useful in most situations. But he's definitely doing something unorthodox with his newer Shadow Shaman stuff. So okay, it's probably on the matches. All heroes, Shadow Shaman. There we go. Bloodstone, 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 Bloodstone. Shadowblade, Bloodstone. Shadowblade. Shadowblade has no place on Shadow Shaman at all. If you're looking for like a ganky invis item, you go for Glimmer Cape now. This is 6 days ago, so he definitely... Glimmer Cape was out. He even got Glimmer Cape this game. And he got Glimmer Cape here, here and here. And you should go for Glimmer Cape. Like, none of your damage is coming from your right click, and you never want this item unless you're dealing damage with your right click. Else you want Glimmer Cape. Like, if you're killing someone with your magical damage, like even like then just get, you know, Glimmer Cape and like Dagon or something. I don't know. Yeah, he does get Mech on him as well. Guardian Greaves is interesting though. That could be decent. See, he has a losing streak here. It's very interesting. Also has a trend of building Tranquil Boots. Now remember before I said he's a very mana hungry hero? He should get Arcanes. Honestly should get Arcanes a lot. See, here he switches over to Arcanes again because he got the Guardian Greaves. He's gone over to an Arcanes build again. That's interesting. We see he does get wards. He's got wards in his inventory a lot of these games at the end of the game, which is not always the case. A lot of these losses he's got He's got observers and sentries, so looks like he does get that. Yeah. How many times did he play Shadow Shaman this month? A good amount. Good amount. Let's see if he's branched out recently in Heroes. Doesn't look like it. Doesn't look like it. Still a lot of games on Shadow Shaman. A lot of games on Ember Spirit. A few games on Faceless Void. Maybe he got a compendium challenge with it. Could be. A few games on Invoker. A good success rate on Invoker actually. That's impressive. For someone who's just learning it. Then a few games on a lot of others. Zeus and Razorback as well. Maybe those are compendium games. Alright, well, the only other hero I can really comment on is his Ember Spirit, as he that's the only one he plays a lot recently. So if I comment on anything he doesn't play right now, he might have just, you know, realized his build was odd with it and abandoned. This is much more conventional. You can see right off the bat we have Battle Furies. The Mjolnir isn't super conventional. Crits. The Archer isn't super conventional either. But you know, Blade Fury and crit and drums, very usual. Face boots every game, yes. Want that that extra damage for that Slayer Fist. Mask of Madness is quite unusual. He hasn't played this hero super much though. Like, it's a very drastic difference from the Shadow Shaman. But yeah, here it looks like the only item you really should go for. Like, okay, the things you want Mjolnir for is like being able to push the wave and AoE damage. That's kind of what you get Mjolnir for, and it also has a neat effect for tanky heroes. And also the attack speed is nice, but you really don't need either on Ember Spirit. Like, you just need to buff up your Slayer Fist and you get the farming speed and, you know, the AoE from that. Because it doesn't have much of a cooldown, and it benefits so much from, you know, when you have two battlefields, you don't need more farming speed. A crit would have been much better in this case, because you just kind of, if your enemies bunch up, you just kind of Slayer Fist in, and the cleave combined with the crit just tears them apart. So let's take a look at how he skills this guy. Flame Guard, Searing Chains, Flame Guard, Slayer Fist, Flame Guard. Alright, I think how does Searing... Yeah, you should definitely level up Searing Chains instead of Slayer Fist here, I think. Unless what you're going for is like a long range Searing Chains. Could be. And I think really the timing of your level up of Slayer Fist should coincide with your when you end up getting your Battle Fury. I think you kind of need that. Just have info. No, don't have info on when he got the items. Let's see if that's representative of his Ember Spirit games. Yes, looks very much the same. A bit of deviation up here. He finished his Slayer Fist max out earlier here. Only goes for 2 levels in Flame Guard. Yeah, it does scale quite nicely though. It's a vast difference in the magic absorption. Like, it goes to like 400%. Like, the magic absorb at level 2 is 400% of that of level 1. Like, you go from 50 to 200. So you definitely need level 2 here. It also has a nice duration increase and a nice damage per second increase. So you definitely need to get it to level 2. Maybe you just keep it there. I don't think that's horrible. And but I think then you should probably max out Searing Chains a lot earlier, because you definitely want the second level faster than level 5, because it doubles the duration of the stun. Like, that should be what the hell? Yeah, okay, yeah. So the damage per second actually decreases from level 1 to level 2 because the total damage increases via the fact that the duration is longer. So I don't think that makes very little sense to me. Why you would do it that way? Why not just have level 1 do 60 damage and say it has the same damage per second level 1 and level 2 instead of having it actually go down? It's a 20 damage difference, come on, it's not gonna matter. That's strange. I think this item build could, or this skill build could do some work. I don't think he'll have a Battle Fury. If he's farming very well, he might, but he's going for drums first. Like, he's not building the Battle Fury and then drums, so he's probably got like face boots and drums by the time he finishes maxing out the Slayer Fist. And I haven't played Ember Spirit very much, but I think the maxing out the Slayer Fist is much more important once you finish your Battle Fury and you can really start to farm. And I don't think he'll have done that at this point, at which point I think maybe maxing out the Searing Change should be your priority first. But perhaps someone is more well versed in the hero. I don't think this isn't definitely horrible. Like, I think some of the, like, I think the Shadow Shaman build probably wasn't something I would do. Unless it was a mid Shadow Shaman. I can't tell if it was. He likes Shadow Blade on this guy sometimes too. And he likes Yasha on it. I don't really know, like, Yasha only builds into Sunshine Yasha and Manda style, neither of which are really great on Ember Spirit, because really you just build the hero to abuse the Slayer Fist. Yeah. So I think maybe we are kind of concluding our trends. His win rate is going up. I think we are kind of going towards a conclusion of our Dotabuff analysis here. This is kind of, I feel like I've squeezed the lemon as much as I can, squeezed everything out of this that I can. There isn't really a lot more I can say without just everything's going up. That seems, but it's a very short duration. It's only since May, so for this month he's improving. It looks like a little bit. It cheats that the scale of the graph is so low, because this is 0.52 to 0.54. That's a very small percentage-wise difference. This is also just marginal difference, but it's interesting that it's going up across the board. That's a good, like, if the numbers were higher, I would say it's a good indication that he's increasing in skill. But it's a very small increase. Like, this is from 332, probably 330 to 338. That's not even, was that 1%? Like 3% increase or something. That's not a lot. It's not a lot. It's not a dramatic difference. See the win rate. Win rate goes from 5.1-ish to now 50.1 to 50.6-ish. Yeah, so it seems good. That's going to be all for this time. I hope you got a little bit out of it with regard to what to look at when you're looking at your Dotabuff. Though you probably have an idea of this already. Like, I think overall looking at Dotabuff is a dubious way to evaluate someone's performance. Very little you can actually extract from it. You can just look at the win rates, you can look at people's item builds, you can look at people's skill builds. That's about it. You can see, do you have an abnormal amount of deaths? But even that, his deaths aren't that bad. He's got a lot of wins, which also affect it, but even the ones where he loses aren't that bad. Like, we have a loss of 12, 17. 17 is bad, but that probably means something bad happened, or a lot of spawn camping. Who knows? It's also, you have to take in the length of the game. Most of these have been pretty long, but that's about it. So anyway, yeah, I don't think you can get a lot out of looking at your Dotabuff, but a short analysis like what I've done here is, probably the best you can do. So a lot more worthwhile looking at actual replays, even if you're only looking at one replay, if it's actually representative, if it actually accurately represents what the player plays like. That's a lot more worthwhile than looking at this, even if you're only looking at it for the same amount of time, because all you can critique are, like, to me, second tier concerns, like what's your item build, what's your skill build. That's at the same time it's kind of the easiest part to critique, but it's also one of the less important, because I think the most important are the mechanics, decision making. So, where are you placing wards? Are you doing what you should be doing during the game? What's your perception of the game? Are you ahead? What's your main concern? Who's the most dangerous hero on the enemy team? Those are the things that should be your main concern to improve. Like over, as long as you have like a decent item build and skill build, the next, that's, you know, you don't need to polish those to completion before you should worry about stuff like map awareness and decision making before that, is what I'm saying. Doing a bad job at saying. But this is already going a bit longer than I intended, so I'll cut the video off here. Hope you've enjoyed it.